Okay, good morning. My name is Gene Chan, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cerise Waiters is the clerk of this hearing. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterwards through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet, so if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice, urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. This public hearing is being held to consider the following items. Order number 207350, to consider the removal of 2 street trees with replacement adjacent to 3150 California Street. Order number 207351, to consider the removal of 3 street trees with replacement adjacent to 533 Parnassus Avenue. Order number 207352, to consider the removal of 1 street tree without replacement adjacent to 1812 Webster Street. Order number 207353, to consider the removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 847 Oak Street. Order number 207354, to consider the removal of 1 significant tree with replacement on private property at 3832 18th Street. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the director. The director will make the final determinations. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. Then I will allow the property owner or representative to speak, then any member of the public who wants to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. If you are a member of the public who wants to speak, please wait for me to call for public comments, then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you are dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it is your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If you're on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing at urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. First, we will open up the hearing to any public comments. Members of the public may address this hearing on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Are there any public comments? Okay, I see a hand raised for Josh. Can you speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make this general comment and then I'm going to leave this meeting because I'm not feeling well. But for everyone listening, here's what I hope you keep in mind throughout this entire tree removal hearing. San Francisco has the smallest tree canopy of any major city in the United States. In 2014, we rolled out an urban forest plan to address this issue. The plan called for the addition of 50,000 new street trees. So that's trees in addition to what existed. And it called for this to happen by 2034. In 2021, the city's Budget and Legislative Analyst Office reported that over the last 10 years, the city had planted less than half of the trees it needed to even keep up with the rate of removal. To translate this, our tree canopy is shrinking, not growing. In 2019, our city declared a climate emergency. The purpose of this declaration was to jumpstart the creation of a new climate action plan. In 2021, the city produced a new climate action plan. One of the key findings it made was that even if we stopped producing every single particle of pollution immediately, we still needed to absorb and filter out the pollution that already exists in our environment. Nothing filters and cleans out our air better than trees, and specifically mature trees. And that is why our climate action plan made some notable mandates regarding city trees. First, it called for a 25% increase in street trees by 2040. And second, it called for, quote, a policy to require preservation of mature trees during development or infrastructure modifications, and for planting a basal area equivalent of mature trees whose removable is unavoidable. To translate this, it must be city policy to preserve mature trees, and only if you must take out a mature tree, then you need to put back as much as you took out. To take out a mature tree and put in a sapling is a climate emergency failure. FYI, this fiscal year, our Board of Supervisors set aside exactly $0 for planting street trees. I request that the department keep in mind today how badly the city is failing our tree climate emergency mandates and how little money it has to do anything about it. And to the members of the public here today to support tree removals for any reason, if you voice your support for a tree removal and also say that you support or love trees, then I challenge you to do more than show up at a removal hearing. Write your supervisor, ask why there is no money for tree planting. Come to the next tree hearing and speak for the trees. Attend the Urban Forestry Council meeting this Friday morning and ask why the city is not following the plans our taxpayer dollars pay to create when it comes to our trees. Trees cannot speak for themselves, and the best intentions will not save them. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And I have a hand raised from Thanos.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning. I'd like to make a brief process and agenda objection. Section 806A3A of the Planning Code has not been complied with, as many of the entities that are required to be notified by that section have not been notified. Neither the spirit or the letter of the statute has not been met. The online format of this hearing is also excluding a lot of our neighbors. For example, those at 3850 18th Street that cannot participate. This is pertaining to the 3832 tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments, public comments at this point? Okay, seeing none, we are going to proceed with the agenda items. Order number 207350. May I please have Public Works make its presentation?
Good morning. I'm Brian Ong. I'm with San Francisco Public Works Urban Forestry, and this is the tree removal for December 7th, 2022. So Public Works strategic plan, number one goal is to ensure safe, clean, and green infrastructure and within the public right-of-way. In Article 16 of the Urban Forestry Ordinance, BUF's mission is to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing the safety and needs of a growing and evolving city. A removal permit is required to remove street trees and significant trees. As of February 2020, our department, if the department is removing a tree, a replacement is required within 120 days or added and tracked on a delayed replacement tree report. If a tree cannot be planted in situ, then it must be replanted at a nearby location. If a property owner applicant is granted a removal permit, the department shall require a replacement street tree of equivalent value to the one removed or impose an in lieu fee. So this is street tree SF. So I'll just continue. So Public Works Order number 207350 for 3150 California Street. the removal of 2 street trees with replacement adjacent to 3150 California Street. The staff has denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. So these are the trees in question at 3150 California Street. They are London plane trees, and they are proposed to be removed for a new building construction. And the applicant, the proposed plan is to plant 3 street trees. So this is tree number 1. It's a condition of the tree is fair. There's a slight corrected lean, and the tree's been pollarded every 2 years. And then here's the other tree, or this is still the same tree with the corrected lean. You can see the tree is leaning. This is tree number 2. There is some trunk decay at the base of the tree. This tree is also pollarded every 2 years. It is also in fair condition. And so the applicant states that the crane for construction cannot work around the trees. The general contractor needs to use a large mobile crane on site. And because of the scope of work on California Street, the only place the crane can enter the site at the correct elevation is the location of the 2 trees. And the dimensions of the crane, 24.5 feet, and the distance between the trees is 23 feet. So you can see on this diagram where the train has to go, right where the trees are. The footprint location of the mobile crane is kind of in the green area. And then this is the planting plan for the 3 trees. And so the staff has denied and the applicant has appealed. So to be consistent with other cases, the staff has denied the removal. And there's just some considerations if the tree can be preserved, and if approved, what size replacement trees can be planted. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Can I now have the property representative speak? I'm guessing that is Micah.
Hey, good morning. This is Micah Press with Equity Community Builders, the owner's representative for University High School, who is proposing to build a new academic building with science and general classrooms, as well as a gymnasium at 3150 California, the site that you can see here in the picture. I do have some slides. Is it possible to share, or I can also speak to what's on the screen if that's easier?
Yes, you can share. I can promote you to panelist. And once you come over, excuse me, once you come over, then you will need to unmute once again.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can see your presentation and hear you. So you'll have 3 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As discussed, this is 3150 California. San Francisco University High School is building a new 47,000 square foot academic building. We are a full property to property lot line project, so there's no additional space on site, and we're requesting to remove the 2 trees. This is a visual of the new building. You can see that it's the full size of the property, 3 stories tall. It's a steel structure, which is important for the construction logistics. This is a view of the interior gym. You can see large steel beams running through the space, and the contractor needs to be able to install those. As shown, there's five street trees on the frontage. We are keeping 3 and asking to remove 2. And as mentioned, we'll be replacing those with 3 additional trees for a net add of 1 tree overall. The 2 trees in question when fully pollarded. So 2 construction logistic issues. One is excavation of the site. At this location, the contractor will be driving dump trucks and excavators onto the site. We're digging down about 20 feet for basement and lower floors. and access is required onto the site. There's no other place else on the site to get the access needed. There's a PG&E temp power, which is a pad mounted transformer above ground on the sidewalk between these two other trees and an existing Muni pole holding up the Muni lines. So there's nowhere else on site to gain access to the site for excavation and dump trucks. In addition, there's a large mobile crane that's needed to lift the steel beams onto site. So this is the size of the crane. This shows at 22.3, but it's not to the full width of the crane. As noted, it's about 24.5 feet, and you need a little bit of additional clearance on either side. So the crane has to sit in a very specific place in order to reach the farthest edge of the site to lift the steel beams into place, as well as the facade on the backside of the building. It's going to be sitting up on a platform that's actually above the excavated pit, and it has to drive on
30 seconds.
directly onto the site. It cannot turn around on this platform. So really the only place that it can enter the site at grade is at this location at the two trees. Again, the two trees are 23 feet apart and the crane is over 24 feet wide. So the trees need to be removed. This quick elevation just showing the slope here. We're driving onto the site down at the lower end of the slope. And finally, again, we were replacing with 3 trees for a net add of 1. Overall, the project cannot be built without removing these 2 trees. The contractor has done significant due diligence to try to look for other alternatives, and this was the only option that would allow the building to be built as designed for University High School. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to any members of the public that want to speak on this item. See hand for John Nolte.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's start back a little bit about this. First of all, is the school aware of how many trees on California have been taken out in the last 2 years? Probably not. So therefore, we're losing trees on California in a radius of about 4 blocks from this location. I really am concerned about when DPW got involved with this project that's been in the works for I don't know how long, and also did not work with the developer to come up with a better plan to incorporate the 2 trees that are there and not have this logistics issue about where the crane must go, not go, so forth. So as a member of the public, I find this very concerning that, well, the trees got to go because we cannot put the crane in to build the building. Well, you should have considered that before you decided to design the building and also max out the site for to increase the size of your university at that location. So I think, trees were not considered at the beginning. Obviously, the architect didn't consider that. And so that's why we're at this hearing. And I fully agree with Boss's decision not to remove the trees. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a hand raised for Michael Nolte.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'm not sure if the University High School is a city entity or a private entity, but either way, the the need for more trees is more necessary in San Francisco. We have a declining population of children. We actually have more pets in San Francisco than we have children. So I kind of question if this is enlarging the campus, how needed is this to begin with, the development, and how much community outreach was done before the project was even considered, to the community at large. And I'm also concerned about the how they could do a lot better for the campus besides putting in 3 trees, that they could put more greenery in. I don't hear an actual plan for more greenery if they're going to be actually catering to students, and it's a campus, part of a campus. So it seems to me that they just, this is the last thought about the tree replacement, and not really discussing more in detail about a actual greenery for the project. So I agree with Buff's consideration of not removing the trees, and I support that. I think the university high school, I applaud them for wanting to improve their campus, but they're over on Jackson Street based on their website, and this is California. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a hand raised for John Whitaker.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. So I'd like to speak in support of the applicant appeal. I think there's, very complicated processes to design a development of this nature, and that the consistent with the city's rules of adding street trees, the applicant is committing to add an additional tree in the replacement plan. And that seems to be supporting even Josh's introductory comments about the reduction in street trees. At the end of the day, this will be a net additional tree to the city's tree total. And I think it's an additional, that tree on the right is sloping so severely, it seems like that could be problematic in the future as well. So I feel like this is consistent with the spirit of the rules. I just wanted to express that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? There are no more comments for this item. I will now close the item, and I will make my recommendations to the director. Next item, order number 207352. May I please have the department make its presentation? Sorry, order number 207351.
Okay. All right. For order number 207351, 533 Parnassus. So removal of 3 street trees with replacement adjacent to 533 Parnassus Avenue. The staff has denied the removals and the applicant has appealed. So this is a construction related permit for UCSF Hospital. The trees are required for the tree removals are required for pedestrian and construction personal safety for the demolition of the UC Hall and construction of the new UCSF Parnassus Research and Academic Building. The application is for 6 street trees. 2 trees are in above ground planters, which were approved and protested for 30 days and posted for 30 days. And no protests were received for those 2 trees. And this is just a list of the 6 trees and their status. So the address is 533 Parnassus Avenue, but it's a 2-block radius almost for the trees. So the trees are on, for our database purposes, they are labeled in different addresses. So this is the planting plan. They plan to remove the 3 trees and then plant 7 trees along Parnassus Avenue. This is tree number 1. This tree was in the above ground planter. It was approved and posted for removal and no protests. It's not part of the hearing, but I just wanted to include that. This is the second tree that was approved and posted for removal in the above ground planter, and there were no protests for this one as well. And this is the 3 trees that we're talking about mostly. These are New Zealand Christmas trees. This is tree number 3. It's in good condition. Deficiencies are really only the codominant stems. So this tree is in good health. And we think that it can be protected during construction. So the tree has been denied. Here's the tree number 4, which is the second one. This tree is also in good condition. There's codominant stems and the tree has been denied. It's a healthy tree. You can see that at the bottom, we had to remove one of the stems of the tree, but overall the tree is in good health and we think that it could be protected during construction as well. This is tree number 6. Again, this tree is in good condition, codominant stems. Tree's healthy. We believe that it can be protected during construction. This is also down the street, which was included. This tree was denied and was planted earlier this year for a new project, landscaping project, just above the proposed area. And so that's one of the trees that was included in the application, but wasn't appealed. So to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, we have denied the removal for the 3 trees, and the applicant has appealed our decision.
Thank you. May I have the property representative speak? I have a hand raised from Sean Mazio.
Hi, good morning, Hearing Officer Chen. My name is Sean Mazio, and I am the university representative for UCSF for this program. We submitted a PowerPoint to you yesterday afternoon. Do you have it handy, or should I share my screen?
I'm sorry. Can I promote you to panelist and let you share your screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, just a moment, please. And once you come over, you will need to unmute yourself again.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen now and hear me okay?
Yes, we can see the screen and hear you. So when you begin, I'll start the timer for 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to provide a very brief overview of the program, and then we're going to discuss some of the specifics around the trees in question. In 2020, UCSF completed the comprehensive Parnassus site plan, which provided a vision for the campus site and a framework for future decision-making. As we look to modernize our Parnassus Heights campus, the CPHP actually included more than 2 years of robust community engagement, spanning 28 public meetings to develop the CPHP, which reflects input from hundreds of stakeholders, both inside and outside of UCSF. One of the initial phase projects identified in the CPHP is the Parnassus Academic Building, that's identified in yellow on your screen. It's going to provide new research, academic, and education space on the site of UC Hall. It's going to address seismic improvements, deferred maintenance, and obsolescence in existing research and educational space, while also providing space for new and expanding programs. You can see on the screen some of the programs that are represented in that. So after the overview, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Steve Moreland, civil engineer with KPFF. That's going to discuss the specific circumstances requiring the trees to be removed. If you could unmute Steve so he could present as well.
I think Steve.
Okay, Mr. Chan, I paused the timer. So do I start another 3-minute timer for Steve or let him continue, or how do you want to do that?
Can we start it?
Restart it. Okay. So you're going to continue presenting. Is that correct, Mr. Macio?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Just a moment.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the digital flexibility.
You're welcome. And we'll also make sure that the hearing officer has the copy of this presentation as well.
Absolutely. And all of this information is included in the response letter, so it shouldn't be anything new. We're just trying to demonstrate it in the presentation here.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Moreland. Can you speak into the mic?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. So my name is Steve Moreland. I am the civil engineer of record for the new PRAB project. I work for KPFF. And we're responsible for putting together the construction documents, including a major portion of the streetscape improvement plans. And the hard demolition, so basically that includes the UC Hall pavement building deconstruction, and during the construction phasing, there will end up being some significant activities surrounding the trees in question. And so starting off with tree number 3, if I get you to zoom in just a little bit more on tree 3. There are some pretty major constraints that end up impacting all the trees. And they are basically, we're going to do major pavement reconstruction for Parnassus Avenue. This all ends up being in support of the approved streetscape master plan for all of Parnassus Avenue going along UCSF. The second most probably impactful activity will be the need for a layback cut that will allow for the deconstruction of the existing foundation for the UC Hospital building. The blue line that's shown on this exhibit is the approximate limits of that layback cut, and that will be necessary for us to expose the existing building foundation, deconstruct, and remove it. The third is there's an existing steam vault right now. It's the red zone, and there's actually or existing steam trench, and it's actually a tunnel, and then there's a steam vault that are adjacent to trees 4 and 6, that as that ends up being decommissioned and then the tunnel removed will have pretty significant impacts on the root ball systems for those trees. Tree 3 is also adjacent to what will be a proposed sanitary sewer service for the new PRAB building. So with the 3 major components here, the necessary construction operations around it, we feel that the trees will not be able to survive the major construction activity.
30 seconds.
And so here is again a picture of the streetscape master plan. This is the beginning of our construction documents. It's the same that was shown in the application. And along with these 7 trees, which right now that's currently programmed for the area in front of the PRAB building, there is also going to be major streetscape improvements all the way along Parnassus Avenue that are going to be matching the streetscape master plan. So there's a very, very committed effort on the part of UCSF to enhance the number of trees and benefit the Department of Urban Forestry in meeting their goals with respect to increasing the number of trees in an urban environment. And that's it.
Thank you. Gonna open it up to public comments at this point. Are there any public comments on this item? Please raise your hand. See a hand from John Whitaker.
I thank you again. Again, I'd like to support the applicant in this appeal. I think it's easy to dismiss or diminish the complexities of improving properties throughout the city. Lots of factors are taken into account in the planning. Ultimately, this is an enhancement to a facility that serves the public, and that the commitments have been made to replace the trees that can be removed, additional trees. So again, supporting the overall goals of the Department of Urban Forestry to increase the overall number of trees in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Hand from John Nolte.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. First of all, this is getting very interesting. About a month or two ago, you did the further up the street, the hospital, and now we were doing further down the street, this building. And it was discussed during the other hearing on these trees on Parnassus, that one, the master plan is taking away hundreds of trees on Mount or Twin Peaks that was given to them. This property was given to UCSF by Mayor Citro, and it was part of his estate. So therefore, the state is now taking away even more trees than they were supposed to for the plan that they had in place a number of years ago. So the neighbors are a little bit of concern about what's going on here, about continually taking away trees. And then also, while I was up there one time, I took a picture and it said, quote unquote, we're in a drought, we're not going to water our lawn and so forth. So that would affect any streetscaping plan that they're trying to discuss here by not being able to water those any new trees or plants they plan to put in as a streetscaping project. So my question is, if you don't have the, if you're going to follow the state mandate to reduce water, and here we're taking out mature trees, why are we allowing them to take out mature trees and they're not going to water the new trees? And again, as was stated in public comment, this is not following city ordinances dealing with other parts of dealing with the climate action plan, and also replacement. The replacement is not enough here because you're putting in saplings, as shown in the picture for one of the trees that was shown. So that a mature tree is equivalent to 3 or 4 saplings. So I don't hear any of that details in this public forum about the tree replacements and the landscaping for
30 seconds.
block of Parnassus. Thank you.
Thank you. See a hand for Michael Nolte.
Yes. There's an overall picture that has to be taken into effect here. One is that, yes, the project has a treescaping plan, but the plan is not really meet the needs of the goals of city and county of San Francisco. You're basically, as mentioned before, this land was given to the university to preserve and had a lot of trees on it, and you're just keeping on removing trees. It was a beautiful site. It's like many of the other hills in San Francisco before development has happened, had many trees, and San Francisco was a healthy place to live. Now it's becoming a concrete jungle. And I don't see how The campus is improving the quality of life for its students if it's going to be a concrete jungle, or its patients, or being as it tends to say, it's a teaching university, and improving the quality of life for the future of San Francisco. Actually, the university campus is a regional hospital. It's not a San Francisco hospital. And so people come from all over to be treated there. And so I also have a problem with the planter trees being not talked about how they're going to be replaced in this presentation. If they're not going to be replaced, then that is a deficit there. And that wasn't really discussed. So I just really have a problem with trees that were mature, and then they're going to be replaced with saplings that may or may not take. And what happens after 3 years, and they're not actually mature after 3 years, because that's all that's required is a developer to water them for 3 years, and if they have to take. Are they going to be replaced if they don't take? And we know in street, 40% of the time they don't take in San Francisco.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Brian, can you confirm that or clarify whether or not the planter trees will be replaced?
Brian Ong, Urban Forestry. Yes, the planters trees will be replaced in accordance with their plan. Maybe some sites, the new sites will have to be shifted if it doesn't meet the requirements, but there will be room for replacement for those 2 trees if the 3 trees were kept.
Thank you. And is there an establishment plan for the tree?
Yes. So all construction related projects, the project is responsible for planting trees and maintaining them for 3 years. After the 3 years, the city will take back responsibility. And if a tree dies or gets vandalized, then the project has to replace the tree, and the 3 years for that tree starts over again.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, I will close this item and I will make my recommendations to the director. The next item, order number 207352. May I please have the department make its presentation?
It's Brian Ong with San Francisco Urban Forestry. This is Public Works Order number 207352 for 1812 Webster Street. This is the removal of 1 street tree without replacement adjacent to 1812 Webster Street. The staff has denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. So this is for 1812 Webster Street, tree number 1. It's a magnolia tree. Basically, this is construction related. The property owner wants to put in a driveway. There is currently no driveway and a garage, and the only location is where the tree is. So here's the tree. There's no deficiencies. It's about it's pretty young, maybe like 5 or 6 years old. It's pretty slow growing, but it's a younger tree, younger and smaller tree. And the tree has been denied. It needs to be removed for the garage, and there's no replacement adjacent to the property. There is on the other side a light pole, and basically we require at least 9 to 15 feet, depending on the species, away from the street light to plant a tree. So there is no room to plant directly in front of the project or in front of the property, but the homeowner is willing to plant a tree nearby, hopefully on the same block if we can find one. Here's another photo of the tree. Again, it's a younger, smaller tree. And basically where that retaining wall is where the garage and the driveway will be. And here's just the site plan of where it is, where the street tree is in relation to the new curb cut. It's pretty much directly in the middle of the driveway, and right above the tree, you can see right here, that's where they wanted to put the replacement, but because it's too close to this street light, a replacement tree cannot be planted adjacent to the property. So to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, the staff has denied the tree removal.
Thank you. May I have the property's representative speak? Would that be Danny?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. So I also have a real short presentation. It's actually on my computer, which is I can raise my hand through that. I'm talking through my phone because the audio works a little bit better. Is that
Okay, I do have your presentation if you want me to share while you speak, or
that might actually be a different presentation. So
oh,
I'll
okay.
on the
So
computer.
I can promote you to panelist.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I just raised it on the computer, so it should hopefully.
okay. I see that. Okay, just a moment.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you and I can see your presentation.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for that. So just real briefly, my name's Danny Nordstrom. I, along with my wife, Natalie Rostello, are the property owners at 1812 Webster Street. Just a real brief background. Natalie and I moved to the city about 4 years ago after having lived in a number of different places. We immediately fell in love with San Francisco, in particular for its natural beauty. I think we all know that there's no other place like it. Decided to settle here long term and ended up purchasing our home in November of 2020. With the goal of making it our long-term home where we can grow our family. So the current situation and really the rationale for the project is this. So we bought the home knowing that it had a brick foundation. And so, knew that we would want to retrofit it to upgrade the foundation for, earthquake purposes and just for safety generally. In the process of that, we also plan to add a one-car garage as part of the project. So that piece of the project has become of particular importance recently, as we are now expecting our first child in just under 3 months. So it's extremely important to us and to me and to Natalie to ensure that we have a safe entry and exit point to and from the home for our daughter. With respect to the status of the project, we've been working on permitting for over 2 years at this point. And we have obtained a site permit from the San Francisco Planning Department. So went through a whole process with our neighbors and ensuring that they were supportive of the project. So this is really kind of the final piece of the puzzle, if you will, to us proceeding with the project. As Brian noted in his presentation, and just you can see it on the slide here, the tree is young. We had tried to suggest a different location adjacent to our property, But unfortunately, the criteria, just there's no potential replacement. With that being said, I've personally spoken with our neighbor across the street, the property owner at 1843 Webster Street, Wasim Rimi, who's a good friend.
30 seconds.
He owns this property here, 1843 Webster, and is fully supportive of adding new trees to his block, and we are fully supportive of paying for those trees. And are also open to, paying for trees at a different location. So I'll pause there. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Okay, I see a hand from Michael Zucker. Michael Zucker, you're on mute.
I see, there it is. Sorry, I didn't see it. It showed up on the screen on the left. I didn't see that at the time. My name's Michael Zucker. I'm the architect of the project. I think Danny did an excellent presentation as to the prime issues associated with this project. The reason to reinforce the house is obvious with the brick foundation. The way of entry in is to do everything is essentially the location of the tree. We are very supportive of the Friends of the Urban Forest, the urban forestry in general, and I think that has been presented as well. The real question that I have is, how do we as public, as members and designers within the community, reinforce this whole process of contributing to the city and to urban forestry in general without having to always go through some of these hearings for these types of things? It seems challenging to get projects approved, and we are supportive of the goals overall. So we kind of leave it in your hands to do the right thing for both the city and for the property owners in their rights. And that's really all I have to present for this particular project here. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand for Michael Nolte.
I find it ironic that at the beginning of this hearing, there was discussion of environment and the need for more trees, and especially because we have a huge amount of cars in San Francisco, whether they're visiting or people that actually own the cars. And if you saw pictures that were already presented in the slideshow, a lot of parking cars on the street and actually in the picture. So it shows the cars are still a necessity for everybody, but at the same time, they create pollution. We have a transit first city. The purpose of it being a transit first city is to do carpooling and use mass public transit. I just kind of missed on when we're putting in bigger projects, we give people bicycles. We talk about bicycle parking. We don't talk about parking garages anymore. We talk about bicycle parking. So I guess the project that the property owner hasn't been to many planning commission meetings. and hear about the other projects that are being developed in San Francisco, and finding out that we're not really catering to cars much. We're catering to pedestrians and bicycles in San Francisco, and carpooling. I think that's the way of the future. And somebody's talking, I'm hearing it over and over again, people wanting to put parking garages in. I didn't hear anything about a electric car to save the environment. I didn't hear about anything about a station for electricity for electric car. If you're going to be doing these improvements to your house, how is your project really improving the environment beyond just putting in a garage and a driveway? As far as the tree,
30 seconds.
I think the tree needs to stay there unless there's a actual location for more trees for this project to be approved. And I didn't really hear that either. They need to submit a letter from an actual location from a property owner saying, not just saying that the property owner agrees, because they have to be watered and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. See a hand for John Whitaker.
Thank you again. I'd like to support this applicant as well. It seems like to my understanding, the rules around the tree protection is not to prohibit a landowner from improving their property, and that they've gone out of their way to try to find locations adjacent where the tree can be replaced, and going so far as to exploring that with a neighboring property owner. It feels like it's consistent with balancing the supporting, not removing a tree, but adding it back. And they've even expressed adding additional trees, balancing that against property owners' need to be able to improve their property. And certainly with the issues about a brick foundation, seems in the public interest that work be done as well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. See a hand for John Nolte.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, great. First of all, the property owner decided to buy the property. Secondly, when he bought the property, he had got all the information on the property. It's called a 5R report. He already knew when he bought the property that it was a brick building. And also in San Francisco, brick buildings, UMBs, have to be seismically upgraded. So therefore, he's not doing anything except in addition to what the city wants, which is to seismically improve the brick building that he decided to buy, which he chose that property out of the thousands that were available 2 years ago to buy. So, and then also to add more whatever money to it. So I don't hear due diligence on him and his wife buying the property, not doing anything really green. It shows that we have a retaining wall that's going to be taken out here, because if you really look at this, it doesn't discuss what's going to happen to the left of the tree, to the picture that's showing right now. And so therefore, you're taking out more greenery on that street besides the tree, because he's going to be excavating, which really wasn't discussed how far by the architect, how far this tree was, the tree and other greening will be impacted on the street. And also, it's part of the presentation by Buff that if you're going to take out a tree, you have to replace it. Well, hearing that a property owner possibly nearby would want to plant a tree on their property or sidewalk is just hearsay, not something in writing saying that they would do that. Next, also, this property doesn't see, this guy doesn't seem to get the action plan for San Francisco. He moves to San Francisco, only been here for 2 years, and expects everybody in San Francisco to agree with what he thinks are his property rights for San Francisco. Well, my right is that's on the sidewalk, and also that tree belongs to everybody in the city
30
and county of San
seconds.
Francisco. So I'm concerned about him removing it just for a car and not discussing, or his architect is discussing how he's greening his property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Danny, I'm going to ask you to submit any follow-up comments to the email, Urban Forestry.
I think my wife was hoping to speak, if that's all right. We're just on the same line.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Natalie Rostello, owner at 1812 Webster Street. I just wanted to make one other comment that as far as our renovation, we are fully intending to add an electric car charger and solar panels to the home. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close this item and I will make my recommendation to the director. Next item, order number 207353, may I have the presentation?
Brian Ong, San Francisco Public Works Urban Forestry. This is for Public Works Order number 207353 for 847 Oak Street. This is the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 847 Oak Street. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. This is the tree in question. It's a ficus tree that is in fair condition, that is leaning over the garage. Into the driveway. In the past, we've had many ficus failures. This one has had past branch failures, recent root pruning, and there's a canopy imbalance. You can see the tree is leaning, but there's not much of a correction. Usually you'll see the tree start to go straight up, but it's not. It keeps leaning over. Especially with all the end weight on the tree, it's going to continue to keep going that way. And so the tree has been approved and posted and can be replaced. Here's another photo of the tree. You can see the homeowner has has a hard time getting in and out of the driveway. On the right-hand side, you can see that there was a branch failure in 2019. And here's another photo of the tree, just in poor condition, fair to poor condition. And then on the right-hand side, I kind of marked where the tree could go, pending any utilities, but it meets all the requirements. So if the tree were to be removed, it can be replaced adjacent to the property. So to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, the tree has been approved, and the public has protested.
Thank you. May I have the property representative speak? I see a hand raised from Joel.
Yes, that's me. I do have some additional photos I could share.
Sure.
Okay, just one moment. I'll promote you to panelist.
Okay, you're able to hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Okay, I'll share my screen. This is just a repeat of the prior picture. It shows a recent edition. This is actually taken this morning. This is the tree immediately downslope. These images have been balanced to the street, so it shows a comparable ficus planted around the same time, which has also had some branch drops, but is in a much more vertical orientation, just to compare the two quickly. And then this is the tree directly upslope from our same home. And it is also a ficus. It also has had some major branch drops. You can see it's actually very thin now. So this was my motivation when these branches fell, that I felt very concerned about our tree in our driveway. We purchased the home in 2009, have lived with this tree and love this tree since then. I'm thrilled that we can replace it, and I'm open to contributing whatever it takes to get a more mature species in. I appreciate the road noise. Then the last bit, this is the view from my garage. It is a wide angle view, so it is distorted a bit, but you can see Oak Street. Oak Street is a very busy street, and pulling out is dangerous all the time, but especially if there's a car parked right there and the tree with its lean there, which I feel it has been slowly dropping over the years. I don't have actual thorough data on that, but I do know that cars that did my electric car for Mr. Multi, when pulling out, comes very close to scraping it every time, and I'm worried about damaging the tree in that process. But that's all I had to share. I'll stop now. Here we go.
Thank you. Opening up to public comments. I see a hand from Annie. Or Anne.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Ann Selting. I live at 845 Oak Street, which you can see to the left of the tree. We bought our house as newlyweds in 1998, so 24 years ago. We've raised 2 children in the home. We love the tree. There's no question that it's great. It provides us noise and privacy benefits. Aesthetically, it's also obviously a value add when you live on Oak Street. But I think it's pretty obvious from both Joel's comments and Public Works that all good things must come to an end. To Joel's point, we've had branch drops. There's practical obstacles for 847 where he lives. But I also think that there's a real, we've watched the tree grow, and as it's lost branches, it's obviously becoming a bit of a menace. If there's damage to any property, it's going to be probably ours. I think we all know Oak Street is highly trafficked. If the branches fall into the road, very likely to cause an accident, especially because traffic moves very quickly. I'm excited about getting a new tree. We'll never replace this tree, but I think practically speaking, people need to recognize that there are safety issues here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. I see a hand from John Nolte.
Good morning. A couple of issues. One, to the right of the tree, there's a red zone, so therefore the tree should be the parking you should have access to your garage. Next, what was not shown was a picture of the small car that they have that's parked in the driveway. It's only like cars. That I assume would be the property owner's car because that's parked in their driveway. So I don't understand the purpose of this hearing and why this tree is being removed. And also you could see, as being stated by 2 property owners, that there are ficus trees on either side of the street. They've been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And now they want to take one out because it's leaning a little bit into his garage, but the car that they have is kind of a little small, so it can maneuver right in and out of that garage because it's not a large car that they currently own. So I'm perplexed about why their permit is even being done to remove a car. And the war on ficus trees in San Francisco, in which I have over 10,000 signatures on the removal of ficus. City seems to, have ficus, but it's like one of the 10 most planted trees in San Francisco. And I really don't hear about the other top 10 types of species that are planted in San Francisco. And what's happened, when there's a major storm and so forth. So of course, a tree loses its limbs. That happens to all the other types of species in San Francisco. So everything that was said here applies to the other 10 types of species in San Francisco, but FERC doesn't want to discuss that and or keep records of those answers. So it doesn't help us as the public to understand why you want to remove the ficus tree.
30 seconds.
So I think that this tree should stay. And if it's not going to stay, I suggest a 48-inch box sized to the location that was stated to be planted if it is to be removed because of its leaning. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have a hand from Michael Nolte.
Hi, my name is Michael Nolte, and I used to live not too far from this address on Oak Street, and I used to love to see all the trees on Oak Street and Fell Street, and I regularly go up both Fell and Oak Street every week or two, and so it's a heavy, like it's been mentioned, it's a heavily trafficked area, which means that a lot of carbon monoxide from the cars. You need to have the trees to filter for the future of San Francisco. It has to start from somewhere. You need to have the trees there as natural barriers for both the sound, the pollution, and everything else that happens in San Francisco because it's becoming a concrete jungle. The tree still has a life to it. It's not at the end of its journey. And people are saying here, well, we just want to take it out because we feel it's becoming a nuisance to us. Well, the tree was probably there before it's been there for many years. It still has many more years to go. It's not at the end of its life cycle. And if it has any failures, that's just a natural part of its life cycle. If it needs to be pruned, then ask, it seems like it's on the property line of the owner. So somebody's responsible for the pruning. If it's going to be replaced, it needs to be a bigger, a big stature tree equivalent to it. It's basically a beautiful tree. I don't see how anybody can't say it's a beautiful tree. I mean, it's one of the better looking ficus trees that I've seen. It has a lot of protection. It's really grown out. It doesn't have the some of the problems that other ficus trees I've seen had. So it's a beautiful tree.
30 seconds.
So I wish more trees were in fair condition in San Francisco, and I support saving the tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments on this item? Seeing none, I will now close the item and I will make my recommendations to the director. The last item on the agenda is order number 207354. May I please?
Brian Ong, San Francisco Public Works Urban Forestry. This is Public Works order number 207354 for 3832 18th Street. So the removal of one significant tree with replacement on private property at 3832 18th Street. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. So here is the tree in question. It's an avocado tree.
Wow.
It is approximately 35 to 40 feet tall. DBH is 12 inches. Condition is good. There is a slight lean and codominant stems, and the placement, I'll show some photos, is not ideal. So the tree is planted very close to the property. This is construction related. The building project scope cannot be achieved without significant pruning, which cannot be completed following the ANZ A300 best pruning practices. Here is another photo of the tree. As you can see, it's in this very small above ground planter. It's maybe like, I don't know, maybe a little more than 12 inches, maybe 15 inches, since the tree is about 12 inches in diameter. It's maybe 15 inches wide, this opening for the tree to grow. So here is a proposed plan to replace the tree to the curb. So if the approved for removal, the replacement tree will be equivalent value. Tree was appraised and it has been determined that at least a 36-inch box tree will be required as replacement. And the species will be determined between the property owner and the inspector. So in summary, the tree is in poor location. Any work required to the adjacent property will require significant pruning, which would negatively affect the health of the tree. The tree exhibits some conditions that elevate the risk of failure, including lean and codominant stems. So to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, we have approved the removal of the tree.
Thank you. May I have the property representative speak? Would that be Luis?
No, I'm just, I'm across the street, Louis Werder.
Okay, would that be Jonathan then?
Yes, Jonathan here.
Okay, you're the property representative?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for your time. As has been previously conveyed to the city, including DPW, BUF, the tree removal is necessary for the construction of an approved 19-unit group housing development. The city has already held 5 public hearings in connection with the housing development project, and the city is prohibited under state law from holding any additional public hearings. So we are here as representatives under protest. The city is further prohibited from disapproving the tree removal application under state law unless the proposed tree removal poses a specific adverse impact upon the public health or safety. The proposed tree removal complies with the city's objective tree removal standards and is necessary for the issuance of a building permit for the housing development project at 3832 18th Street. To this effect, the Bureau of Urban Forestry approved the removal on July 12th, 2022. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comments. Going back to Luis.
Hi, my name's Louis Werder. I live across the street from 3832 18th. I took care of the tree for many years for the disabled former owner, Mary Connolly. It has not been maintained by the current owner. There are probably 5 people living in the building right now. No one is taking care of the tree. It would be a shame to lose a mature tree on this stretch of 18th Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanos?
Good morning. Thank you, Hironobu Chan, for taking the time to listen to our concerns. I'm the neighbor to the right of the tree as you're looking at it for this photo, and one of the appellants to this. This is a large tree that is an integral part of the neighborhood. It's a rare producing avocado tree that has been in the neighborhood for decades. And some of the neighbors will tell you, such as Lewis, more about the connection of the tree. But I want to object to this and give you the specific reasons as to why we don't think it should be cut down. We asked the department and the owner of the reasons why they're cutting this tree, and we have not gotten any good reasons back for this. We don't show currently any permits that have been pulled to start the construction for this, so we're not sure why this is happening now. Again, as a pattern of what we've seen in this hearing, people will come up with the plans and at the late stage go, well, now it's in the way of the plans that we already made because we didn't consider the tree to begin with. So we don't know why the existing construction cannot be built with the tree in place. There are currently still tenants in the building, so it seems like we're far away from starting construction in this. The tenants, and we provided photos for this, seem to be doing improvements to their current property. So again, it's unclear if construction is just starting. They most recently have been installing other additions in the backyards, the gas fire pit. The developer has been petitioning the state to increase the size of the building from 5 stories to 6 stories. They originally denied the 6 stories. So it's a controversial development. It's unclear this is going to happen anytime soon. Again, we haven't received any information on this, and from what we can see, it seems this is not going to happen. The developer themselves publicly testified that they're unable to build the 5-story building that they just talked to you about. So they did this publicly in front of the full board of supervisors. So if they now have changed their mind and can build the 5 stories, we'd like to find out about that. And with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the developer, because you might want to evaluate what you receive from these folks with a grain of salt. They have been super uncooperative from the beginning. They have failed to answer any of the questions of the neighbors in the pre-application hearing. And actually, the development firm that was working on this was one of the companies that was caught bribing the Department of Building Inspections that was approving their own projects. They have brought their own employees and contractors to planning commission meetings and posed them as concerned citizens. Other people without identifying themselves. I'm actually curious, I didn't catch the last name of the gentleman that spoke in front of the developer. I just heard Jonathan. We'd very much like to know who the representative is. Like I said, again, most importantly, the developer has publicly testified that the building as currently applied for is not feasible for them to build. So we ask that you deny this petition based on the currently available information and the history of the petitioner providing inaccurate information. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. See a hand for John Nolte.
Good morning. A couple of issues that come to mind. First, a property owner buys a building and then decides to enlarge it into what was considered a monster house on this block. These are considered monster houses when you want to take a single family home and turn it into a 5 to 6 story building. That's considered a monster house. Okay. And also they're asking for a state density bonus on this project to go up 6 stories or 5 stories, as the neighbors have stated. Hearing that there are people living in the property, that kind of explains that, okay, they're living there, but are they also working on the property, or just another source of income for the current property owner? And so, it doesn't fly with what they plan on building. And also the tree was there first. For a while, and as you heard from the neighbors, for multiple years, and they just, for their own personal gain, to max out the size of the building, which they didn't show a real drawing of this thing. I have in front of me the drawings that they put in front of the planning commission, and also the board of supervisors, one who's appealed. The tree was there, as the neighbors stated, and for a number of years, 20, 30 years, and now they want to take it out. They could have, gone around it, but they didn't want to do that because they want to max out the property to and go up 5, 6 stories. And is this really to the convenience of the people on 18th Street to have this monster home in the middle of the block? That's all my comment for today.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? See a hand from Michael Nolte.
Yes, not every time, when you have a hearing, do we hear from the neighbors? This shows that there are concerns. The neighbors are speaking out about how they're concerned about the future of their neighborhood. And I think that weighs heavily on how I think about this project that's being discussed. If it's still currently in front of a Board of Supervisor hearing, if it hasn't been heard yet, then the hearing about the tree maybe needs to be delayed until the Board of Supervisor weighs in, because the Board of Supervisors will have to consider all the issues at the hearing, and may reverse any decisions being made by this body. Also, I'm concerned about it's a beautiful, again, another beautiful tree that's been benefiting the neighborhood. And a developer has come along and try to make plans for maximizing their profit, and not the profit of the neighborhood, but the profit of the developer. If they are not having the funds for the project, that's another concern. So often developers go to the planning commission and try to plan a site and then sell it to somebody else to develop because they don't have the funds. The developer has 3 years once they get the plans to make good on what they've come up with. And I'm not sure that's going to happen based on what I'm hearing from the neighbors. So please save the tree and keep peace and quiet in this neighborhood, because construction will take probably a year or two or more, and will disrupt the neighbors' quality of life. And killing a tree will even do more harm.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Jonathan, I had a question. The building, the new building, what kind of conflicts will the building have with the existing tree if the existing tree was left in place?
Mr. Jonathan, can you unmute your phone, please, or your microphone? I've sent him a message to unmute Mr. Chan and no response.
Jonathan, is there also a reason why the permits at DBI have not been issued yet? Seeing no response, I'm going to actually close this item. And there are no other items on the agenda, which will conclude this hearing. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a great day.